Can you switch on the fan? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Krishna Rukmini Jaya Satyabhama. Krishna Rukmini Jaya Satyabhama. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivradikataristottara Satarshri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivradikataristottara Satarshri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सद्गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। जगतगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text number 28. Itham Sharat Pravrishika Ritu Harehe. Itham Sharat Pravrishika Ritu Harer. Itham Sharat Pravrishika Ritu Harer. विशृण्वतः मे अनुसवं यशः अमलं। विशृण्वतो मे अनुसवं यशोमलं। विशृण्वतो मे अनुसवं यशोमलं। संकीर्त्यमानं मुनिभिः महात्मभिः। संकीर्त्यमानं मुनिभिर्महात्मभिः। संकीर्त्यमानं मुनिभिर्महात्मभिः। भक्तिः प्रवृत्ता आत्मा रजः तम उपः। भक्तिः प्रवृत्तात्मरजस्तमोपः। भक्तिः प्रवृत्तात्मरजस्तमोपः। इत्थं शरत्प्रावृषिका वृतु हरेत्। विशृण्वतो मेऽनुसवं यशोमलम्। संकीर्त्यमानं मुनिभिर्महात्मभिः। भक्ति प्रवृत्तात्मरजस्तमोपः। इत्थं शरत्प्रावृषिका वृतु हरेर्। विशृण्वतो मेऽनुसवं यशोमलम्। संकीर्त्यमानं मुनिभिर्महात्मभिः। भक्ति प्रवृत्तात्मरजस्तमोपः। Matajis. Itham, thus, Sharad, autumn, Pravrishikau, rainy season, Ritu, 2 seasons, Harehe, of the Lord, Vishranvataha, continuously hearing. May myself, Anusavam, constantly, Yasaha Amalam, unadulterated glories, Sankirtyamanam, chanted by Munibhihi, the great sages, Mahatmabhihi, great souls, Bhaktihi, devotional service, Pravritta, began to flow, Atma, living being, Rajaha, mode of passion, Tama, mode of ignorance, Upaha, vanishing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Thus, during 2 seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished. Kindly repeat. Thus, during 2 seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the covering of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Transcendental loving service for the Supreme Lord is the natural inclination of every living being. The instinct is dormant in everyone. But due to the association of material nature, the modes of passion and ignorance cover this from time immemorial. If, by the grace of the Lord and the great-souled devotees of the Lord, a living being becomes fortunate enough to associate with the unadulterated devotees of the Lord and gets a chance to hear the unadulterated glories of the Lord, certainly the flow of devotional service takes place like the flow of a river. As the river flows on till she reaches the sea, similarly, pure devotional service flows by the association of pure devotees till it reaches the ultimate goal, namely, transcendental love of God. Such a flow of devotional service cannot stop. On the contrary, it increases more and more without limitation. The flow of devotional service is so potent that any onlooker also becomes liberated from the influence of the modes of passion and ignorance. These 2 qualities of nature are thus removed, and the living being is liberated, being situated in his original position. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namavo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langhayate girim yat kripatamaham mande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Currently, India is in the election fever. Everywhere we can see a lot of campaigns happening. Different stages of election are going on. Started in the beginning of May. It will go on till the end of this month. And then June 4th, the election results will be announced. And a new government will be formed. If you look at the election phase, the parties who are contesting the elections, they are all hoping to get a majority by which they can form a government at the center. And naturally, if they want to come to power, they have to explain to the people, to the citizens, what they bring to the table. And that is how they announce their manifestos. That if we come to power, these are the things we will do. And the primary focus has been this election about how whichever party comes to power, it will make India the third largest economy in the world. Currently, India is in the 5th position. About 3.6 trillion, I think, dollars is what is the Indian economy at the present. If they have to become the third largest, they have to overtake Germany and Japan, and they have to come to at least $4.7 trillion. The current ruling party, they are saying we will do it by 2027, 2026. Somebody is saying 2029. But within the next 5 years, once we are elected to power, we will see that India will become the third largest economy. And the opposing party, they are also saying that even if we come to power, no matter who comes to power, it's anyway going to happen. It's a natural process. So everyone wants that the economy has to develop. That's where the development or the progress of the country is measured. So, if we see in the last several years, especially in the last 10 years, India has progressed a lot on the economy front. And even currently, the GDP is growing at a breakneck speed, almost something like 7%, I think, is what the current progress is. Which, if you look at the rest of the world, Shri Krishna, Rukmani, Satyabhama, if you look at the rest of the world, for a comparison, if you look at the US, which is already a developed economy, it will be under 2%. So you can imagine the kind of progress India is making. So India is making a lot of progress, and we can see as a result of this, if India has to go from 5th largest economy to the 3rd largest economy, it will not happen simply like that. A lot of people will have to put in a lot of hard work. Even in the last few years, like I was mentioning, in the last 10 years, so much progress has happened. We are seeing how the people whom we know, industrialists or entrepreneurs, they are becoming more and more busy. There is one person we know, a donor. He is a kind of devotee, chanting a few rounds also. Family is also a devotee. He heads a bank. He is the owner of one bank, one private bank. 10 years back, the bank was small. The economy was not so big and vibrant like it is today in India. So the devotees used to get time with him once in a month, once in 2 months. They would sit with him, spend about half an hour, 1 hour with him, preach to him about Krishna consciousness, make him chant and all that. Now he has become so busy, it is impossible to get him. It's become like that. This is true with all industrialists. Economy is growing means the people who are in the industrial field, people who are entrepreneurs, they'll become so busy. They'll not have time for anything. 18 hours, 16 hours they have to put in every day. And we have Narayan Murthy, who made a statement that if India has to go from 5th to 3rd largest economy, everybody will have to put in 70 hours of work every day. Currently, every day puts in about 40 hours a day, 40 hours a week. So 70 hours a week, if you have to put in, that means you can imagine how much amount of work a person has to do. He will have to put in, if he works 7 days a week, he has to put in 10 hours. And if he is working only 6 hours, he has to put in at least about 12 hours of work a day. So his logic is that if you look at countries which are developed, whether it is the Japan or any other country like that, the people, when the country was growing, it had still not developed, it had not become a developed economy. The people used to work very hard and long hours for a certain number of years, for a few decades. And after that, the country became developed. So now the people can take the luxury of working only 8 hours a day and for 5 days a week. Similarly, India also, if everybody puts in about 70 hours a week for the next 10 or 20 years, then India can become a developed economy. That is his logic. So you can see, politicians, they have to work very hard. The businessmen have to work very hard. Even the common man has to work very hard for the economy to thrive. If you look at the Prime Minister of the country today, he puts in, he sleeps for hardly 2 hours, 3 hours a day. 18 hours, 20 hours, he also puts in hard work. That's how the country is growing. So everybody from the common man till the topmost ruler of the country, everybody has to work hard day and night to make the economy thrive. So this requires a lot of passion. Passionate energy has to go in. Now, while India has been growing economically, India has become vibrant economically, and passionately everybody is working towards making India a richer and more developed country. There is another phenomenon also that's going on. Recently I had gone to our Ahmedabad temple for their Patotsav, for their annual Pratishtha ceremonies, the day on which the deities were installed. So I was talking to some of the devotees there, and you know, our Ahmedabad temple is a very vibrant temple. There is a lot of people coming there and all that. And I was talking to some of the devotees there, asking them how the preaching is going on and all that. One of the devotees was telling me, nowadays, Prabhu, what we are seeing is that young couples come to the temple and we cannot even ask them, are you related to each other, or are you married or husband and wife? We cannot ask. Because if we ask, they will say, no, we are together. That's all. So beyond that, so it becomes embarrassing. So now we have stopped asking people. Anybody, one man and woman come, we simply talk to them and preach to them. We don't try to find out whether they are related or husband and wife. What are they? We don't ask. Beyond, if we ask, it will become very embarrassing. You see how in India, as one side economy is growing, on the other side, the relationship between a man and a woman is not limited to only marriage now. 30 years, 40 years back in India, if you look at India, very conservative society. Man and woman together means they have to be married. There is no concept of a live-in relationship. But today it has become very common. It is becoming very prevalent in the Indian society. And simultaneously, people who are getting married, the divorce rates are also going up. People who are married for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they are getting divorced. Divorce rates are going up. Of course, in India, the divorce rates are still low, around 2%, something like that. Unlike the US, where the divorce rates are more than 50%. So that way, it may appear that India is better off, but as the economy grows, this will also increase. So we are seeing how economy is growing on one side. On the other side, the divorce rates are going up and live-in relationships are also increasing. And simultaneously, another thing we are seeing, what is that? The crimes against women are also increasing. And what is also happening? Children, girls who are in school, 8th standard, 9th standard, 10th standard, they are becoming pregnant. And they are delivering children in the toilets of the schools. This is also going up. What does this show? This shows that the feelings of lust which are there within the people of the current younger generation, it is growing, it is increasing. So, when we are increasing the economy on one side, on the other side, the feelings of lust within the people are also increasing, they are going beyond control. That is how we are seeing people's, crimes against women are increasing. The men are not able to control their lusty desires. Man and woman, they get, first of all, if they get married, after a few years, both are not satisfied, they are separating. And people interested in marriage is also coming down. Breakups are increasing. Boyfriend, girlfriend. 30 years back, where was boyfriend, girlfriend? There was no concept of boyfriend and girlfriend in this country. But now, you go to any college, it is a very common thing. So much so that children, young teenagers studying in schools, they are not able to control their lusty desires. You see? So, what we can understand from this is, the Bhagavatam is saying, when we increase the forces of the modes of passion, when we engage in activities which are steeped in the mode of passion, Rajoguna, the simultaneously Kama and Lobha, lust and greed in the hearts of the people will also increase. The leaders of the country are placing so much emphasis. Actually, they are placing only emphasis on increasing the economic activity of the country. And increasing the economic activity of the country means, in current day world, you have to increase the industries. You have to increase the manufacturing. You have to make in India. Foreign investment you have to bring in. And manufacturing, putting industries, big factories, what is this doing? This is only increasing the mode of passion and ignorance. Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And consequently what happens? The common mass of people, their hearts are becoming overcome by lust and greed. Now the Srimad-Bhagavatam here is saying there is another kind of activity, that what will happen if we engage in that? Rajas tamopaha, it will reduce the modes of passion and ignorance. It will reduce the influence of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. That means it will reduce the forces of Kama and Lobha, lust and greed within our heart. What is that activity? Bhaktihi pravrittatma rajas tamopaha. Devotional service to Krishna is an activity which has the opposite effect, which is to reduce the forces of lust and greed within the heart. To be satisfied with whatever we have by our law of karma, and not to engage in sense gratification, to exercise self-restraint. These characteristics become prominent in the heart of a person who engages in devotional service to Krishna. And what is this devotional service to Krishna? Sankirtyamanam yashaha amalam anusavam. By hearing the glorious activities of Krishna, what will happen? Devotional service within the heart will take root, which is what has happened in the case of Narada Muni. This verse is a description by Narada Muni about how he heard every day, constantly, the glories, the unadulterated glories of Krishna. For how long? Not very long. Sharat Pravrishika Vritu, only for 2 seasons. 2 seasons means 4 months. For 4 months, during the rainy season and the autumn season. Narada Muni, when he was the son of a maidservant, simple son of a maidservant, he heard the glories of Krishna. Just by hearing for those 4 months, what happened? His heart became cleansed of the forces of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. The forces of lust and greed vanished from his heart. But then, from whom should we hear? That is also important. Can we hear the glories of Krishna from anywhere and everywhere? We have so many serials about Radha and Krishna, serials about Mahabharata, Ramayana. So many television serials are also going on. Nowadays, there is talk of a movie going to be made in Bollywood about Ramayana. Ramayana is the flavor of the season with the inauguration of the Ayodhya temple. So, Bollywood is also trying to cash in, trying to make money by making a movie on Rama. Now, people are watching these movies, these television serials, and all of them are talking about the glories of Krishna, Lord Rama, etc. Is the Kama and Lobha coming down? People are going to the movies, people are sitting at home and watching these serials and movies. Are the forces of lust and greed reducing in their heart? Highly unlikely. Why? Because the source from which we hear is also important. From where we have to hear? Narada Muni, from where did he hear? He did not go to some drama company and sit and watch among the audience about how some people, some actors are enacting the drama of Ramayana and Mahabharata and Krishna stories. No. He heard the glories of Krishna from Munibir Mahatma Bihi, from Mahatmas. Who is a Mahatma? Mahatma is not a politician who is rubber stamped by the votes of the people that this is a Mahatma. Nor is a person who wears simply some sort of dress and wears long robes and has one big beard and he speaks in a very nice way. He cracks very good jokes and is able to talk very fluently and very nicely. He has got good oratorial skills. Such a person cannot be called a Mahatma. A Mahatma is defined in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Krishna has said in the 9th chapter, the 13th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Who is a Mahatma? Krishna says, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. Mahatmas are those personalities who have taken shelter of the Daivi Prakriti of Krishna, not the Maya Prakriti, not the material energy of Krishna. All these leaders today of the world, they are directing the whole civilization. Not only in India, everywhere it is like this. The leaders of every country, every nation, what are they doing? They are directing the citizens and the common mass of people in one direction, which is the direction of economic progress, increasing the modes of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And the leaders are thinking, this is what is good for the people. I am doing the greatest benefit for the people. The leader of the country, maybe if you look at his personal life, he may be very renounced. He is not having any personal interest, and he may not even favor any of his family members. All this may be there, and he is working hard, saying that my life is dedicated for the nation, and he is thinking, I am doing good for the people. This kind of approach is described by Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Andha yathandair upaniyamanaha tepi shatantriyam urudam nibaddhaha. Such leaders are actually blind. So somebody may say, oh, how you are telling such a great leader he is. He is so popular amongst the mass of the people. He has dedicated his life. He has no personal self-interest. If you look at his personal assets, he has hardly anything. He is like a pauper and he has not done anything for his own family members. And you are saying he is blind? Yes, he is blind because he does not know what is the real benefit of the common mass of people. And this blind man is leading a set of blind people. All the common mass of people are blind. They don't know what is good for them. And modern democracy is such that all the blind people are coming together and voting for their leader. What they will do, they will vote another blind man who also does not know. Even the common mass of people don't know what is good for them, what is the real benefit, what is the real purpose of the human form of life, nor do the leaders also know. And so what they are doing, Tepi Ishatantriyam Urudamni Baddhaha, Ishatantriya Baddhaha. All these leaders, their hands are tightly tied. Ishatantriya Urudamni Baddhaha. They are tightly tied by the ropes of the modes of material nature. Ishatantriya Urudamni Baddhaha. They are strongly tied. Not easy. It's not possible for them to untie themselves. Now, if somebody's hands are tied behind his back very tightly, how will he be able to untie others? Not possible. All the leaders of the current day society, all over the world, they are all controlled by the three modes of material nature: Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And because of this, their eyes are blind. They cannot see what is the real benefit for the common mass of people. They have no idea. Such people, if you take shelter of, what will happen? If a group of blind people are led by another blind man, what will happen? Like Prabhupada says, they will go and fall into a ditch. Although the leader may be well-meaning, he may be thinking, oh, I have to lead all these people, all of my followers are blind, I have to lead them, I have to protect them. He may think like that. But because he himself is blind, he is controlled by the three modes of material nature. His own heart is ruled by Kama and Lobha, by lust and greed. What will happen? He will lead the common mass of people only in increasing Kama and Lobha, greed and lust. He cannot, it is not possible for the leader to show a way to the common mass of people how to reduce these things. And that is why you will see the government is also struggling. They are coming up enacting newer laws. They are increasing the police force. They are doing all these things to prevent the crimes against women. Even the courts even the judiciary is very concerned. Women are not safe walking on the streets, but the government is doing everything possible within its powers. But what is happening? The crimes of women, year on year, it is only increasing. Why? Because the lust and greed within the heart is going on increasing. Scams are increasing, scandals are increasing, cases of cheating and theft are increasing. These are not reducing, no. Why? Because the hearts of the people, the lust and the greed are not removed. The leaders are only engaged in activities which are increasing these things within the heart, and they want to externally control the people by enforcing law and order, by enacting newer and newer laws. It will not help. Only crimes will only increase. So, if we take shelter of such leaders, there is no hope for the common mass of people. The only way is to take shelter of the Mahatmas. Why? Because the Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. They are not Urudamni Baddhaha. Ishatantriya Urudamni Baddhaha. Their hands are not tied by the three modes of material nature, by the Prakriti, by material nature. Their hands are not bound. These people are liberated people. Therefore, they are Mahatmas. They are great souls. And such great souls, if we make them the leaders, if the entire mass of people follow the direction of such Mahatmas, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Marshata, what will happen? Rajas Tamopaha, the forces of lust and greed within the heart will reduce, because the forces of the Rajoguna and Tamoguna will also reduce. So such Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, of the internal energy of Krishna, how do you identify them? The symptoms, Krishna says, that Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Marshitaha Bhajanti Ananya Manaso Jnatva Bhutadim Avyayam. What are the characteristics of such people? Bhajanti Ananya Manasaha. Such people, you will see, what is their activity? Their activity is bhajana, rendering devotional service to Krishna. And what kind of devotional service to Krishna? In the morning, spend about 15 minutes doing one arati, doing a little puja at home. Rest of the day engaged in sense gratification. Is that the kind of people? Is that the kind of bhakti we are looking at? No, bhajanti ananya manasaha. Anya means something else. My mind is, anya manasa means my mind is diverted to so many things. Ananya manasa means manas or the mind is not engaged in any other activity than bhajanti, than rendering devotional service to Krishna. So, ananya bhakti, when we say ananya bhakti, it can, ananya bhakti to Krishna or unadulterated devotional service to Krishna can be understood in several ways. One of the way is that ananya bhakti means you have no other activity than devotional service to Krishna. Another understanding of ananya bhakti is that you don't worship any other devata other than Krishna. There are so many devatas in the Hindu religion. There is Shiva, there is Ganesha, there is somebody who is worshipping Shani, somebody is worshipping Durga, Kali, like this. Ananya bhajana means you are dedicated only to Krishna, you will not worship anybody else. This is called ananya bhakti, and Krishna demands ananya bhakti in the Bhagavad Gita. If your goal in life is to utilize the human form of life to go back to Godhead, to attain liberation, then for that the only way is that you have to engage in ananya bhakti to Krishna. If you want freedom from the forces of Rajoguna and Tamoguna, the modes of passion and ignorance, if you don't want greed and lust to rule your heart, if you want your heart to become purified of lust and greed, then the only way is to render ananya bhakti to Krishna. So ananya bhakti to Krishna means you have to be solely dedicated to Krishna alone. Your mind is not attracted to anybody else, any other devata. Ananya bhakti to Krishna, another understanding is you are not attracted by any other process than bhakti to Krishna. There is the process of karma yoga, there is the process of jnana yoga, there is the process of ashtanga yoga. So, an ananya bhakta is not interested in any of these things. He is not interested in karma yoga, he is not interested in the karma kanda portion of the Vedas, he is not interested in jnana yoga, studying the Vedic scriptures, studying the Vedanta Sutra, studying the Upanishads. He is not interested in any of these things. He is not interested in performing yoga and developing yoga siddhis. His only interest is rendering devotional service to Krishna. This is called Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti, another meaning is your life is dedicated only for serving Krishna. You have no other activity. So, a Mahatma is characterized by Ananya Bhakti. On all these fronts, if you look at that devotee, he should fulfill all these criteria. Look at Prabhupada. You look at Prabhupada, Ananya Bhakta of Krishna, it is amply clear. Prabhupada had no other activity in his life than serving Krishna, and his life was dedicated for serving Krishna, and he had no other desire than the pleasure of Krishna, than rendering devotional service to Krishna. Look at Prabhupada's Ananya Bhakti. When Prabhupada went to the United States, he was on that ship and he was nearing Boston. Prabhupada wrote a poem. All of you are aware of that poem. In that poem, Prabhupada writes, "O Krishna, I don't know why you have brought me to this land of Mlechas and Yavanas. Will they understand the message of the Bhagavatam? I don't think so. They are so much in ignorance. But you have brought me for some purpose. So make me a success or a failure as you wish. Make me dance, make me dance, make me dance." Look at Prabhupada's Ananya Bhakti. Prabhupada could have said, "Oh Krishna, you brought me to the land of the Mlechas and Yavanas. My only activity is to serve your desire. Make me a success in preaching your mission." Prabhupada could have asked, no? But what was Prabhupada's prayer? Make me a success or a failure as you wish. This is Ananya Bhakti. The only desire is, I don't have any desire. Whatever is Krishna's desire, I want to fulfill that. If by becoming a success, Krishna is pleased, I'll become a success. And if by becoming a failure, Krishna is pleased, I'll become a failure. This is called Ananya Bhakti. And Prabhupada is, you can, from Prabhupada's life and his activities, you can clearly see that Prabhupada is an Ananya Bhakta of the highest grade. He is an Uttamadhikari Vaishnava descended from the spiritual world simply to serve Krishna in the service of liberating all of us conditioned souls. So, bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. That devotional service to Krishna is also not rendered blindly, but jnatva, in the full knowledge that bhuta adim avyayam, that Krishna is the bhuta adi. He is the source of all living entities. He is the supreme absolute truth. He is the supreme Brahman, which is described in the Vedanta Sutras. Janmadyasya yataha. That is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras. That Janmadi yataha. That the supreme absolute truth is the one who is the source of all the birth of all the living entities. He is the creator. Now, who is that creator? Krishna is saying that a devotee knows that that person who is the source of all the living entities, who is the source of Janma and Laya and maintenance, creation and annihilation. All these things are happening by whom? By that supreme Brahman. Who is that supreme Brahman? It is Krishna. Jnatva bhutadim. And avyayam. He knows that Krishna is avyaya. That means Krishna is eternal. Krishna is not like us. We are born at a certain point of time, and after our life, our ayu, our duration of life is over, what will happen? Our body will be finished. And along with that, we will also disappear. We will disappear from the minds of the people. If we have achieved some great thing in life, we have become a great person in the material world, achieved big things, for a few years, for a few decades, for a few centuries, people may remember us. After that, people will forget. Nobody will remember. So we'll be finished. Our body, our activities, our achievements will all be finished. So we are not avyaya in the sense that our material life and its achievements and all the activities that we do, they are vyaya, they are liable to be destroyed. Whereas Krishna's personality, Krishna's activities, they are all eternal, they are avyaya. 5,000 years ago, Krishna came and performed his leelas. Even today, people talk about those leelas. Even today, millions of people visit Vrindavan to visit those very places where Krishna performed those leelas. Why? Because Krishna is avyaya. Krishna's personality is never destroyed. Krishna continues as he is. When Krishna comes to this material world also, he does not take a material body like us, which is liable to be destroyed. And on the other hand, Krishna comes as he is. Krishna comes in his eternal form and personality, which is eternally existing. And therefore, Krishna is avyaya. Knowing Krishna's nature, that Krishna is an eternal personality, and he is the supreme Brahman, the source of everything. In this knowledge, the Mahatmas render devotional service to Krishna. And what kind of devotional service? Ananya Bhakti, unadulterated devotional service to Krishna, they perform. Such people are called Mahatmas. And such Mahatmabhir, Munibhihi means a Muni is a person who has completely rejected, he has renounced all materialistic activities. He has no other activity than to engage in the devotional service of Krishna. So, this Sankirtyamanam Munibir Mahatmabir Bhakti Pravrittatma Rajastamopaha. If we hear the pastimes and activities and instructions of Krishna from such Mahatmas and Munis, then what will happen? Rajastamopaha, the forces of the passion, modes of passion and ignorance will reduce. The influence of lust and greed within the heart will get destroyed. And such hearing, one is from whom to hear, and the other is how to hear. Once in a month, I come and attend the Bhagavatam class and hear, and once in a week, I'll read a few pages of the Bhagavad Gita. Is it enough? As far as Narada Muni is concerned, Vishranvato me anusavam yasho amalam. Anusavam. Constantly, every day, every moment, Narada Muni was engaged in hearing about the glories of Krishna from such Mahatmas. Therefore, first of all, from whom we have to hear? We have to hear from Mahatmas whose life is dedicated only for serving Krishna. From such people we have to hear the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. We have to hear from the lips of Prabhupada. And what is the frequency of hearing? We have to hear every day without fail. And that is why Prabhupada instituted the system that every day a devotee in our temples, anywhere you go all over the world, every day in the morning there is a Bhagavatam class. And not only that, Prabhupada has said all the devotees should read Prabhupada's books. In addition to hearing Bhagavatam, we should read Prabhupada's books at least 1 hour a day. By doing this, what will happen? We are constantly hearing every day from the lips of a Mahatma, from Srila Prabhupada. And if you do like this, what will happen is the forces of lust and greed within the heart have to reduce. There is no other way, they have to reduce. Therefore, we should hear from the lips of Prabhupada every day without fail. And the measure of proper hearing is that the forces of lust and greed within the heart have to get gradually diminished, and ultimately they have to become nil. And our great fortune, you see, Narada Muni as a small boy, he could hear from the Mahatmas, from the pure devotees, unadulterated devotees of Krishna, the glories, the unadulterated glories of Krishna, I could hear from such unadulterated devotees only for 4 months. But Prabhupada is so merciful, he has left behind his Vani, so that day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, we can go on hearing from Prabhupada. Prabhupada has made his association available so openly, and it is for us to take benefit of this boon given to us by Srila Prabhupada. This is something which is unprecedented. If you look at all the pure devotees whose lives and histories are described in the Bhagavatam, their association with a pure devotee and hearing from a pure devotee is limited for a very little time. Prabhupada himself talks about, from his spiritual master Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he could meet him only for about a dozen times. He could hear him for a very short time, only for a dozen times. Dhruva Maharaj spent time with Narada Muni how long? For hardly a few minutes. If you look at Mrigari, he spent time with Narada Muni for how much? For a very short period of time. Vedavyasa, he was instructed by Narada Muni at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. We are describing, these are the instructions of Narada Muni to Vedavyasa. How much time would he have taken to instruct Vedavyasa? Again, hardly a few minutes. So you can see the association of pure devotees is so rare. It is not an ordinary thing to every day get association from a pure devotee. Narada Muni as a small boy was fortunate, for 4 months he got association. But all the other pure devotees who are described in the Bhagavatam, hardly few minutes, few hours maybe. Arjuna got the association of Krishna, spiritual instructions from Krishna, for about 45 minutes, 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. That's all. Whereas Prabhupada is giving us association every day. You can go on reading and hearing from Prabhupada. You see how merciful Prabhupada is. All our entire life we can go on spending only in hearing from Prabhupada. How many hours? Almost 6,000 hours of lecture Prabhupada has given. Almost another 5,000, 6,000 letters Prabhupada has written to all his disciples. Every letter there is some instruction or the other which we can learn from. And the volumes of the books Prabhupada has written, you can see the amount of association Prabhupada has left us with. Not to speak of another 4,000 or 5,000 hours of room conversations. So if you have to go through all this, one lifetime is not enough. So much association Prabhupada has given. So this is required in Kali Yuga. In modern day, in Kali Yuga, it is not like the olden ages where the whole society was steeped in Sattva-guna. So for people to absorb that association of the pure devotee, a few minutes was enough. In those few minutes, Dhruva Maharaj became perfect. In those few minutes, Mrigari became perfect. In those few minutes of association, Valmiki Muni became perfect. In those few minutes of association, Vedavyasa also became self-realized. So in every way you see, within those few minutes, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, the life is perfected for all those great personalities, because the age was like that. In Kali Yuga, we are seeing, as we began today's discussion, that in the Kali Yuga, the whole society, the leaders, the common mass of people, everybody, everywhere you turn around, you see only the forces of lust and greed acting. So the force of Kali Yuga is so prominent, so powerful, and so prominent in the society. In this case, few minutes of association, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, we will not be able to perfect our life. So therefore, Prabhupada has mercifully given his association for us. Constantly we can take advantage of that. But it does not mean that Prabhupada's association is any weak. You look at Russia, Prabhupada went to Russia, that devotee Ananta Shanti. How much time did Prabhupada spend with him? I think about 2 days or 3 days, few hours Prabhupada spent with him. After that, Prabhupada could not meet him, and there was no way he could read any of Prabhupada's books, no association, nothing. And he set fire to the whole of Russia. Whole Russia, so many devotees today, and there are temples in Russia today. Just because of that one devotee, few minutes of association he had with Prabhupada. Prabhupada did that also. Prabhupada demonstrated that also. Few minutes of association with Prabhupada is enough for our whole lifetime. But Prabhupada is still mercifully giving his association so much so that we can take advantage of hearing Prabhupada every day. Therefore, we should make it a practice to seriously hear, seriously read Prabhupada's books, hear the Srimad-Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita every day, read Prabhupada's books at least 1 hour daily, and by doing this, the forces of lust and greed within our heart will reduce, and we will progress on our path back to Godhead, and we will be able to become liberated at the end of this life. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Yes, please. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, to your comment on the current times, right, where there are politicians who are filled with lust and greed. So how can we expect a politician of today to be God conscious? Because people who are God conscious, they don't want to become politicians. They want to be Ananya Bhaktas, which means they always want to remain in the service of Krishna, which means they don't want to take up even responsibilities like being a politician. They ideally prefer being always engaged in the service of Krishna because they feel Maya is, it gets in the way if you take up such responsibilities.
Yeah.
So how do you address this dichotomy, Prabhu, where you have a politician who has to be Krishna conscious, but then you have Krishna conscious people who are not interested in becoming politicians. Even in our society, we don't see many such devotees becoming politicians, right, Prabhu?
True.
So I just wanted to understand.
True. It's because devotees are not interested in politics.
Correct.
They are interested in Ananya Bhakti. And this has been, from the beginning, it has been like this. The Vedic system was that the Kshatriyas, the politicians, even though they are not Ananya Bhaktas, they would be led or directed by the instructions of the Ananya Bhaktas. By that, even though they themselves don't know what is the real benefit of the common mass of people, they take directions from the pure devotees, then they will be able to run the administration in such a way that it benefits the people. That is the system that is originally the way the world is supposed to run. Kshatriyas or the administrators are not to run the things according to their own whims and fancies and ideas and ideologies. No. They are also supposed to be responsible to be directed by the people who know the Vedic scriptures and who know how to benefit the people. So that's the way people have to go. So if there is a politician today, if he reads Prabhupada's books and takes direction from Prabhupada's books and he implements them, then that is good enough for the people. That is how we have to see. And there are certain purports where Prabhupada says, lists out the basic principles, what are the things that a Kshatriya or an administrator or a politician should do. If they follow even that much, that should be enough to liberate the whole world. So that's the simple answer. And of course, another way we have to understand is that current day world, like I said in the beginning also, the common mass of people don't know. They are innocent people. They don't know what is the real good for them. So, if we spread Krishna consciousness among the common mass of people, if the majority of the people become Krishna conscious, then they will naturally elect someone who has some understanding of Krishna consciousness. So, it will not be a leader who is coming to power like we are seeing today in the country. Anybody who promises economic development, even though his basic ideology is that he is an atheist and his party says we must destroy temples, Hinduism has to be destroyed, has to be obliterated, Sanatana Dharma has to be destroyed, etc. Even they get elected to power. Why? Because the common mass of people don't know that what is good for them. They think these people are, but that is their personal thing. They don't believe in a religion. That is his personal thing. But as far as we are concerned, he is taking care of the economy. So this is people's thinking. Such a foolish thinking it is. Why? Because the innocent mass of people don't know that such people cannot really do any good for the common mass of people. So if the common mass of people become Krishna conscious, they become enlightened, naturally they will know what kind of leader can do good for the people, and they will elect such leaders. This will also help in guiding the people properly in the way forward. So these two things are the way by which the common mass of people can be benefited. Is that okay? Any other question or comment? Yes, please.
Right now we are in a temple. Yes, we believe in God.
Yes.
But then, do we think we need to believe in Dvaita or Advaita?
Good question. So I'll split it into two parts. One is you believe in God, therefore you have come to the temple. Another thing is whether Advaita is good or Dvaita is good. It is good to have belief in God, but it should not remain at the stage of belief. You have to know. You have to know whether God exists or not, and who is that God. You have to come to the stage of knowledge. That is why our Vedic scriptures also state, Tamasi ma jyotirgama. Don't remain in ignorance. Don't remain on the platform of blind faith or blind belief. I have belief, another person doesn't have belief, so both of us are okay. They are also living, we are also living. That's not enough. You have to know for sure whether God exists or not, A. And if God exists, then who is that God? The Vedic scriptures are unique in the approach that they are full of questions and answers. And by the use of logic and reasoning, we can know that actually God exists. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is telling you about who that God is. You see, therefore, it is because a human being has got a higher prerogative, he has got a higher intelligence. An animal cannot understand if you talk to them with logic and reasoning about the existence of God, they cannot understand. What can an animal understand? Animal can understand eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha etat samanyam pasubir naranam. The animals can understand only eating, sleeping, mating and defending. As human beings, if we limit our activities to these four things, then we are also no better than animals. But the Shastras state, Dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho. Human beings have one special ability which animals do not possess. What is that? Dharma. They can inquire into dharma to understand who we are, who is God, does God exist or not? If God exists, who is that God? What is our relationship with Him? All these things we have to come to the stage of knowledge. So the Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary book of knowledge of God. Who is that God and what is our relationship with Him and how to approach Him. You understand? So this is the first thing. We have to progress from belief to knowledge. Having belief is good, but we should not remain limited to the stage of belief. We have to come to the stage of knowledge. And the Vedic scriptures are full of such logic and reasoning. If you study them, you don't even have to study the entire Vedas. If you study the Bhagavad Gita, one book is enough. It will give you clear knowledge that actually God exists. So much amount of logic and reasoning is given. Now once you come to that, then once you know that God exists, then comes the aspect of whether Advaita or Dvaita. So the Srimad-Bhagavatam states that The Srimad-Bhagavatam states, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. That the Vadanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam. The knowledge of the absolute truth is described in 3 phases. What is that? Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. The impersonalist or the Advaita philosophy focuses on on Brahman, which is one aspect of the absolute truth. The Ashtanga yogis who follow the Patanjali's system of Hatha Yoga, they focus on Paramatma, because in Hatha Yoga you are supposed to do dhyana or meditation. Modern day meditation, they describe all sorts of things. We are not interested in that. In the Patanjali system of Hatha Yoga, what are you supposed to do dhyana upon? It is not upon some bindu, some point, some flame, none of these things. You are supposed to meditate within the heart and find out the form of Vishnu or Paramatma within the heart. You have to search out, because Paramatma is there within the heart. In Ashtanga Yoga, by dhyana, you withdraw all your attention from the external world and focus inward and search out the form of Vishnu within the heart, the form of Paramatma within the heart. This is Brahman Paramatma. Paramatma is another feature of the absolute truth. Now when you come to Bhakti Yogis, their focus is on Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, rendering devotional service to Krishna or to Lord Rama, any of the forms of Vishnu or Narayana. Now, when we look at these 3 things, all 3 of them appear different. Isn't it? Brahman is different, Paramatma is different, Bhagavan is different. But what is Bhagavatam saying? Yad Jnanam Advayam. These are not 3 different things, but these are 3 different aspects of the same absolute truth. So, when we look at Advaita Jnana, Advaita philosophy, it focuses only on Brahman. Whereas Dvaita philosophy focuses on the Bhagavan. And Bhagavan, how do we understand that all these 3 aspects, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, are non-dual aspects of the same absolute truth? Because the understanding is that the Brahman is nothing but the effulgence of Krishna. The bodily effulgence of Krishna is Brahman, and the expansion of Krishna to pervade the whole material world and to control the material world, to keep it functioning systematically, for that Krishna expands himself as Paramatma. Because for anything to work systematically, management is needed. A person is needed. You cannot form a company and then there is nobody heading the company. All the people are sitting in the company, they can do whatever they want and the company will flourish. Will it happen? It will never happen. You have to have a CEO, one person sitting at the top, who runs the whole organization. He has the vision, he sets the policies, he sets the goals, and the whole organization runs with that. If that CEO is not there, everything will fall apart. Similarly, this material world also, you see every day the sun is rising at the same time. You can predict 10 years from now, on such and such date, what time the sun will rise, what time it will set. That is not that we have progressed so much. The fact is, the rising and setting of the sun is so systematic, you can predict with ease that it will rise and set at this time in the future. Suppose the sun rising and setting was not systematic. Today it will rise at 6 a.m., tomorrow it will rise at 6 p.m., today it will set at 12 noon, tomorrow it will set at 8 p.m. Then what you will do? Can you predict what time the sun will rise and set? You will not even be able to predict tomorrow what time the sun is rising and setting. But today, 100 years from now, you can predict what time the sun is going to rise and set. That means it is running so systematically. And if the whole world is running so systematically like this, there has to be somebody controlling everything. And that, the Shastra state, is the Paramatma. Paramatma is pervading. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. Krishna is there as Paramatma within the heart of each and every living entity, as well as Andantarastam, Paramanu Chayantarastam. Paramatma is there within each and every atom. And that is why even within the atom there is activity. There is a proton and electron going around the nucleus and all these kind of things. And that atom is stable. it is stably staying there. And if it is not so stable, it will combine with other atoms and form a molecule, and that molecule is stable. If that stability was not there, we could not be sitting on this floor. If the atoms are all getting scattered, you and I cannot sit here. There will be nothing, there will be only vacuum. So you see how everything is so systematic that we are able to perform our activities in such a nice way. Therefore, this shows that there is each and every atom is also pervaded by the Paramatma. So Paramatma is the feature of the Lord who is within this material world. And Krishna is situated in the spiritual world. He is always in the spiritual world. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna says he is the seat of Brahman. He is the source of Brahman. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. Matta smriti jnanam apohanancha. Krishna says he as Paramatma is seated within the heart of each and every living entity. And Krishna himself, he is personally the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Bhagavan. So when we look at the philosophy of Dvaita, where we speak of Bhagavan, that Bhagavan understanding of Krishna is the complete understanding, because by understanding Bhagavan, Yasmin Vijnate Sarvam Mejam Vijnatam Bhavati. By understanding Krishna, you understand Paramatma also, you understand Brahman also. The example given by great Acharyas like Ramanujacharya and Srila Prabhupada himself is, if you want to understand the sun, one way is to understand the sun rays. You look at the sun rays, you can see there, the sun is falling on the ground, and you understand, okay, the sun is an entity which gives lot of light. That is one understanding, but that's not the complete understanding. That light, the sunlight itself is not the sun. It's coming from the sun globe. So you progress from the sunlight to the sun globe. And then the sun globe is not itself everything. If you enter the sun globe, there is a Surya Bhagavan who is controlling the sun globe. There is a person within the sun globe. So similarly, just like the sunlight is coming from the sun globe, Brahman is the effulgence of Krishna. It is like the sunlight. And then when we speak of the sun globe, it is like the Paramatma. And the Surya Bhagavan, who is a person within the sun globe, he is like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is the understanding we get from the Vedic scriptures. So Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, all these three aspects are of the same supreme absolute truth, and the Brahman and Paramatma aspects are subordinate to the Bhagavan aspect. So understanding the Bhagavan aspect is the complete. And finally, if you look at your question, whether Dvaita or Advaita is superior, which is better? So Arjuna himself asked Krishna that question, that whether the focusing on the Avyakta is better, means Advaita, or to render devotional service to Krishna as a person, which is better? Arjuna's question in the 12th chapter, the first question he asked was, Arjuna uvacha, evam satata yukta ye bhaktas tvam paryupasate. The bhaktas, the devotees who render devotional service to you. Ye chapi aksharam avyaktam, those who worship the impersonal Brahman. Tesham ke yoga vittamaha, who are better among these two? Arjuna inquired, which is considered to be more perfect? Those who are properly engaged in your devotional service. Bhaktaha tvam paryupasate. Bhaktas, the devotees. Devotees follow the path of Dvaita, right? Or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. Avyaktam, Aksharam. Those who worship the Avyakta. Who is more perfect? This is Arjuna's pointed question. The same question which he asked. So what is Krishna's answer? Straight away Krishna's answer. Maya vesya manoye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetaste me yukta tama mataha. The blessed Lord said, Krishna said, he whose mind is fixed on my personal form, always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered to be the most perfect. That means those who follow the path of Dvaita, who are devotees, are considered more perfect than those who follow the path of Advaita. The followers of the path of Advaita are also transcendentalists. They are also on the path of spirituality. But amongst the two, if you ask who is better, it is the devotee who is better. So what about the persons who are following the path of the Avyakta, worshipping the impersonal Brahman? Krishna says, Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhir avapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, those who follow the path of Jnana Yoga, those who are following the path of Advaita, for them advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyena iva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami na chirat partha mayyaveshita chetasam. Krishna says, on the other hand, for those who worship Krishna, giving up all his activities unto Krishna and being devoted to Krishna without deviation, that means those who are devotees of Krishna, those who are following the path of Dvaita, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha. For him, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. You see the difference? One hand, Krishna is saying those who worship Avyakta, those who are following the path of Advaita, for them path is very difficult. And whereas those who follow the path of devotion, Krishna says, it's very easy. They don't have to put any effort. Krishna says, I will come and deliver. Krishna will come and deliver. So which path do you want to take? Do you want to take the difficult path or the easy path? Naturally, you want to take the easy path. So therefore, intelligent person should take the path of Bhakti Yoga, the path of Dvaita, and that is the understanding that we get from the Bhagavad Gita. So I'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.